Hello, welcome to a video demonstrating the Let's Get Reading sheet that you will not find in your 2020 primer pack because it is brand new and it is going to allow us to transition from reading the basic rhythm symbols of crotchets and quavers, tars and TTs, to what most people think of when they talk about reading music. So notes of different pitch, higher and lower, and all of those other symbols that come with it. So, before we go on, we are trying more kind of advanced light filters for these videos to make it so you can see me a bit better. Today's very high-tech solution is adding some natural light. I don't trust natural light, so we'll see how this one goes. Hopefully there aren't too many weird reflections going on in the background, but it probably is good if you can see what I'm doing as we play through these things. So here is how it sounds. I'm going to play through the exercises on the trumpet first. Then we're going to talk about what the new symbols are that are on your sheet music. By the time you've heard me do it, it'll probably be pretty obvious what each of these things does. Here's how it sounds on trumpet. I have brought up the drums video that you'll find at the top of the description, just underneath this video. Click on the YouTube link when you're ready to practice it. Don't do it right now because I want you to listen to me first. Click on the YouTube link and play along with this, pausing it whenever your sheet tells you to have a little rest. Let's have a listen to the first section of the exercise. Alright, and I'm going to pause the video there for a moment. Your sheet music says stop the video and take a 30-second rest. This is to give your lips a chance to recover. It's a chance for your mind to kind of think about what's coming next. Get ready to play as well as you can with the most beautiful controlled sound that you can. Now we have a whole bunch of crotchets on each note. Every single crotchet needs to have the same clear tonguing. That's not quite 30 seconds, but it'll do. That's a little rest. It's not a science. You don't need to do exactly 30 seconds. It's just give your body and mind a chance to kind of recover and refresh itself. Okay, we're up to page 2 now. Altogether, in terms of playing, this isn't that much playing. It's a bit like those warm-up exercises we do where you breathe for 30 seconds or so, you buzz on your mouthpiece for 20 or 30 seconds, and then you play your instrument and you sound heaps better. That is kind of like this, except we are reading written music as well. Page 2. Here we go, we've had a little rest. I personally am concentrating on using the tip of my tongue to get every single note sounding perfectly clear and perfectly in keeping with the note before it. So however clearly I start my phrase, I want to keep the rest of the notes in that phrase just as clear. Here we go, no gaps between the notes. And there you have it. That's the whole thing. There are times where the sheet tells you to sing through the notes first. So what it means by that is take the note name. If it's a C note, you're going to sing C, 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 C with no gaps. If it's a D note, you would sing it to the letter D. If it's a B flat, you can call it B. I'm not worried about you saying the word flat right now. We'll just call it B. B, 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 B. And then you play it on your instrument, aiming for the same thing. If the way you play it does not sound like the way you sung it, smooth and steady, have a think about using the wind pattern strategy that we use in class sometimes to check that your tongue is actually making a clear T. This is something that we don't talk about as much as we talk about lips, but it is just as important. So if you go to play it and it sounds all fuzzy and gross, try the wind pattern thing and check that you're getting a clear T on every single note. You want to avoid th, th, th. You want to avoid ch, ch, ch or ts, 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 where you get that s sound from your tongue hitting the roof of your mouth. It is t, as in the word to or ta. And that is tip of your tongue just up where your top teeth kind of meet the gum there. T, t, t. You can say turtle and you'll be able to feel that very well. I hope that's been helpful. Now let's talk about the symbols that you need for these. Here we have a stave. We know what a stave is. Sometimes it's called a staff. It's 5 lines going across your page. For trumpeters, we know that the squiggle thing at the start of the stave, that thing, we know that is called a treble clef. Basically, this tells us that it's music written for a high-sounding instrument. We know that the 4/4 sign tells us that the music is broken up into little 4-beat or 4-count sections to make it easier to read. So you can say, okay, find bar 4, and that means you would find the 4th set of 4 beats. And they are shown by the vertical bar lines that kind of separate out each of these 4-count or 4-beat sections. If that was really confusing, it'll make more sense as we go along. The new things that we need to talk about. One of them is that instead of just having tars and TTs and even the zigzag za sign, the crotch at rest, we now have notes that look like this. Just a circle. Sometimes they'll have a little added line going through them. This kind of note here, this you've probably seen at school if you've had music lessons. If you've never had music lessons, all this is a note that goes for 4 whole counts. So if our drum beat was going 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, and you would be holding the note for 4 whole counts. Ta, off, 2, 3, 4. Ta, off. That is the very first thing you've got on your page. And because that very first note is drawn on its own little added line like this, all the way down there, that's called a C, and it's basically our low C, no valves. The note directly above it, and this is where things take a little bit more explaining. Basically, when you go from a note that has a line going through it, whether it's like that, or like that, that one has the bottom of the 5 stave lines going through it. This one has a little added line going through it. When you go from a note with a line going through it to a note that's between lines, or in a space, is what we tend to call it, like that, it is one musical step. you are moving forward in the alphabet one letter. So there to there, line note to space note is one step in the alphabet. C, that'll be a D because we have moved higher. The way it's written is that the note is drawn higher up, so our note is going to sound higher up, which means we're moving forwards in the alphabet. So that's a C note, that's a D note, and if that one in the space is a D, the one on the line directly above it is going to be one step up again. A, B, C, D, E. That'll be an E note because alphabet. Now here is the most important thing for you to remember. It does not matter what shape the note is. It could be a coloured in one of those. It could be a diamond shape. It could be a square. As long as it's on that little added line, for us in treble clef, that's going to be a C. And if it was in the space directly above that and below the E note, it's going to be a D. And if it was on the bottom line, it's going to be an E no matter what. So if I colour in that E and stick a stem on it to make it a crotchet, still an E. Still an E. And if I was getting really crazy and going another step up in the alphabet, let's say, in fact, no, let's really test our musical knowledge. Let's say you saw a weird diamond note up here. Let's say you saw that. Now, on trumpet, we don't actually see diamond notes very often or at all. A guitarist would interpret that differently. If we had that sitting there, we could still work out its name. You would need to follow your musical alphabet from a note that you do know, for example, E on the bottom space, all the way up to there. And the only trick here is that you need to remember, and this might be new, you need to remember that in music, we only go up to the letter G. So the musical alphabet would go like this. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, D. You get the idea. There's no H, there's no I, there's no J. All we do is go up to G, and then we start again. For example, oh, I just realized you may not even be able to see that. Oh no, because of the annoying reflection. Oh, bother. All right, I might try moving the whiteboard over. Hopefully you can now see that. Here's C, bottom line, added line I should say. D in the space underneath the bottom line of the stave, and E on the bottom line of the stave. If we want to work that out, we need to count up our musical alphabet from E. E would be on the line, F would be in the space, G would be on the line, A would be in the space because there's no H in music, we just go back to A again. B would be on this line, C would be in this space, and that would be a D note. Now we don't know what a diamond represents. It could mean anything, but we know that it's a D because we can count up from a note that we do know. So musical alphabet: A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Go back to A again. You just keep moving up like on a piano. The shape of the note does not matter. Where it sits on the stave matters. That tells you what the name of the note is. The shape of the note just tells you how long to play it for. Added line, technically called a ledger line. You don't need to remember ledger line. You can just call it an added line. I don't care, it's fine. That's C. The note underneath the bottom line is D, just as it shows you on your page. And the note on the bottom line is E. Hopefully you can actually see this now. Hopefully you've been able to follow along, even if you couldn't see what I was doing with the E note before. Maybe I'm just so good at explaining things that it made sense anyway. There are lots of other videos on YouTube, some really good ones about how to read music. But with these things, semibreve, C, D, E. That's pretty much all there is to know today. Good luck, have fun. Play through that sheet. Your goal is to play with a beautiful sound and annoy your family with loud drums through speakers. Enjoy.